We have two speakers this evening, Jane Zhang and Douglas Bastien, and afterwards we're going to do like a little breakout group discussion so we can get thinking about these concepts. So as you probably know, this evening is an introduction to technologies for nonprofits. And so the idea is just to get us all thinking about the importance of technologies and how we use them, and to make sure that we're using them most effectively and most efficiently for all of us. So our first speaker is Jane. She's the program director for TechSoup Canada. She has a lot of experience from the IT field and the NGO sector, and she is passionate about helping nonprofits to use technologies as best as possible. TechSoup Canada builds relationships between the voluntary, the public, and the private sector, and connects them with charities to use technologies. And she's also the director of the corporate social responsibility at the IT Association of Canada. So they work to promote CSR within the ICT sector in Canada. So join me in welcoming Jane.
So my second slide is now going to be completely useless. So as Claire has said, I am the program director at TechSoup Canada, but some things you don't know about me is I'm actually a cat lover. I foster for the Toronto Humane Society. I have fostered 26 kittens so far. If you ever want to find a source of happiness and meaning to life, that's it. When I'm not doing techie stuff and cuddling with kittens, I play video games. Dragon Age 2 is coming up tonight for you folks that might be interested. Last year I decided that since it's cute that you have kittens and I may play video games, I started learning how to run. So I'm actually going to be running my first ever 10K next week. And lastly, I did that on purpose so you guys can't really see. I am a techie. But which is why I may not be the right person to be talking to you guys tonight about technology planning. Because I always say when you're thinking about technology, the last thing you want to do is ask a techie to help you to plan it. So, now, why should we even care about planning for technology? Well, let's just take a moment and think about what if, starting right now, this very moment, there is no technology for you to use in your organization. Are you still going to be able to do your day-to-day operations?
Yes, but inefficiently.
Okay. Why?
Lots of paper, lots of phone calls.
The phone is the technology, so no phones.
Lots of bus rides and cab rides.
Right, and we may have to start raising carrier pigeons to deliver the messages. So, yeah, basically right now, like it or not, technology is core to your day-to-day operations, which is why I think it's really important when you think about what you're doing as an organization, the goals that you have as an organization, what your mission is, you kind of have to incorporate technology as part of it. So when I ask what technology may mean to you, I'll give you the first one already. What are some of the things you think about when you think about technology? So there's the website. Anything else? If you have a website, you're good. No need for...
Social media.
Social media? Okay. I didn't have that on my list. My bad. Okay, anything else?
Member database.
Member database?
Accounting.
Accounting.
Online training.
Online training. There's basics like email, your newsletters, right? So a lot of the time when we talk about technology, we're like, okay, here are all of these tools that we need for technology. But then if you kind of take a step back and instead of thinking about it as in terms of its website or databases, what it really is doing for you is it's allowing you to tell stories of what your organization is doing in the community. Why do you exist? Who are you? What are some of the impact you're having with your audience? It's also about conversations. Are you using technology to talk to your funders, donors, people that you actually serve? Are you using technology to find out what's going on, to raise awareness? What do people think of you? What do people think about your programs? But technology is also ways for you to think about how can you inspire others? How can you generate ideas within your community? How can you get people to come and be your community champions? It's also knowledge exchange, and if this picture looks familiar at all, you probably see it was taken here for a past Med Tuesday, and if you're actually in the picture, I do apologize, I forgot to ask for permission to use this picture. But this is where you can use technology to get people to share knowledge with each other. Organizations can start sharing knowledge and collaborate together. And we could start trying to not just raise awareness, but educate the public about what's important. And also, of course, building communities. That's a part of, I think, what all of us is doing in our everyday work. So, the role of technology, can people actually read this? Okay. All right, so it's just me that's nearsighted. Great. Okay, so if you think about the role of technology, here are some that I have here, but I would encourage you to think of other roles that technology could play within your organization. First of all, simplification of tasks. I'm like the queen of lazy at TechSoup Canada. So for me, if I have to spend a lot of time to do something, right away I say, well, that's a lot of bus rides, that's a lot of paper. And since I can't read my own handwriting, I sometimes have to redo the work again because I have no idea what I wrote from the day before. So how can I simplify all of this? How can I do something once and have it be able to be used by multiple people multiple times? And it also makes me look really smart, which I'm not. But how do you use technology to generate awareness? So when we first launched TechSoup Canada, I was like, great, I'm here. Yay, we have a website. Woo, why are people not visiting? So just because you may have certain things within your organization, how do you actually use other aspects of technology like social media, your newsletters, or even your emails, to tagline your emails, to generate certain things that you're doing either online or offline? So how do you tie all of this together? And technology could be used to help you understand your audience. Tierney, who's our brainiac at TechSoup, and Lori, who's our, I call her the general, because she's always asking questions like, but how can you justify this, right? The two of them are constantly asking me, like, how do you know who's visiting our website? Who are they? Are they ordering? Are they requesting the donations? How do you know which donation program is actually popular? The same questions need to be asked about what it is that you do for your organization. How would you know if your program is actually successful? How would you know if people's perception of your organization is the same of what you think it is, right? We may think we're great. Well, I may think we're great at TechSoup Canada, but that might not be the case. So it's really important for us to kind of have that understanding of not just who our audience is, but at the same time, what do they think of us? So it has to be a two-way thing. Obviously, technology could have huge cost savings. If we go back to the example before of a lot of bus rides, when you have, say for example, a annual general meeting where board members from all over the province may need to come together. Now this is an area where if some of these meetings could be done through the web or through teleconferences, then maybe not all of the members would have to travel to the meeting all the time. I'm not saying that should replace your face-to-face meetings, but in some cases it actually will facilitate conversation and collaboration and make it a lot easier for people to contribute. And it's a lot cheaper for you as an organization as well, so you don't have to pay for all the travel. But of course, if you can use technology to free up your time, that will help to support your passion. So you actually have more time to do the things that you love, as opposed to trying to read your handwriting, right? So that's all great. I'm up here talking to you about all these things, but let's look at your day-to-day work. I would say when you're thinking about technology planning, before you even think about the planning piece, you should keep calm, because chances are there are certain things that's causing you headaches right now when you think about technology. Do all of you love technology, or do you think it's a bit of a frustration as well? Bit of both, right? So some of the things for you to think about when you think about technology is knowing where you are. So the basics, I like to say call it a stop the bleeding. So if it's causing you frustration, do you have things like your desktop software, is it working properly for you? Is your computer new enough? Is it loading your program at a speed that is good for you? Do you have security on your computer to prevent antivirus? Do you have backups for your information so that if you accidentally deleted that funding proposal you spent the last 5 hours working on, do you have a backup of it? If your computer gets stolen or if you accidentally dropped it, do you have backups of your files? And of course, are all your operating systems current? So if it's not current, you may run into issues where things you send out to your collaborators, they may not be able to open them and read them, or you may not be able to read the files that they're sending you. Now, after you kind of troubleshooted, put out those fires, I would say this is time for you to sort of think about how can you set goals. And this is where you can translate the mission of what you do into action. So instead of saying, well, everybody's on Facebook, we should be on Facebook. The question isn't whether or not you should be, you should be on Facebook, sorry. It's more, what is your mission? What are you trying to accomplish with Facebook? Is it a conversation tool for you? Because it may not be, depending on what your actual mission is, depending on who the people you're working with are. And it may not be the best fundraising tool for you just because another organization is using it. It might be a really good volunteer recruitment tool for you. So understanding how your organization operates, what you're trying to achieve, and then tying it back to the technology piece, it will help you decide. But of course, everyone says, well, you know, there are 10 different things I need to do. We just don't have time. Well, you don't have to do all 10 at the same time. Just pick the most important thing for you. Pick the thing that's going to give you the best payoff. And don't be afraid. You don't have to know HTML. You don't have to know what CSS is. You don't have to know what LAMP system is, because those are things for the techies. All you have to do is be in the driver's seat. As long as you know the mission, as long as you know the goals, you can get there. And this is again from the Queen of Lazy, is how do you be smart about it? Because chances are, as you're thinking about the redesign of your website and whether or not you actually need a content management system, there are a lot of low-hanging fruits that you can do right away. More and more, there are lots of cloud-based technologies that are very easy to use and they're freely available. So there are many things you can implement in the next day or two that will hugely help your organization as you're thinking about your long-term goals. And of course, the more you automate, the more time you're going to have to think through what you want to do in the long term. So how do you do that? Well, have a conversation with your existing staff, because it doesn't matter what technology you implement. If you have broken process within your organization, the technology won't work, because technology is not a solution. It's just a tool, right? If you're building a house and you don't know where you want your bedroom, you can have the best brick, you can have the coolest, wood. The house is not going to work because you haven't really planned it through. And then mapping out the process. This part is really important because a lot of times, if you have a top-down approach to technology, so if you're deciding at the executive director level or board level what you want to do, but haven't taken the time to figure out if that's what the frontline staff is actually using, you run the risk of implementing a technology tool that actually creates more work for people that are using it. And you will find that if they're not going to buy into it, if they're not going to use it, you're not going to be able to actually leverage it to increase your capacity. So I mentioned don't be afraid, because, well, you could go and get information from the TechSoup website, and I will probably admit that TechSoup Global has more information than we do. But TechSoup Canada website has a lot of good learning articles. N10 is a great organization. They are based in the US. They do have a lot of wonderful information on their website. My favorite blogger is Beth Kanter. Do you guys know who she is? If you don't know, Beth Kanter's blog is it's like a Bible that I think every nonprofit should follow. Her blog is on nonprofit and social media, and what she does is she actually goes out and tests tools and have a great review from the perspective of a nonprofit person, and she explains it in plain English for you, and she will interview a lot of organizations that use social media very well as case studies, so that will help you decide which tools you want to use.
How's her last name spelled, please?
Kanter, Kanter. And testing the tools. Don't be afraid to figure out what tools other people are using and see what sticks. And then I know you guys probably don't have a lot of time to test it. I would say find 2 or 3 that's most popular, see if it works within your current process, and have a try for the next 2 months and then adjust. Of course, find the expertise. Feel free to contact us. We are more than happy to tell you what we know. Our technology planning series is designed to try to give you as much information as possible. The NTEM website is great. Idealware, that's IDEALWARE, is another website. They review a lot of nonprofit technologies, and then they'll write great reports on it as well. So that will save you time to have to go out and do that. And don't be afraid to get a technology volunteer, but again, make sure you're in the driver's seat and you tell them what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve, and how they can help you. And of course, transfer that knowledge from the volunteer to your organization. You want your staff to become more savvy with technology. You don't want to have to depend on someone outside of your organization for your technology. And of course, I call it rinse and repeat. This is an ongoing process. It's not going to happen tomorrow. You're not going to have a perfect plan tomorrow. So just take it a bit at a time and then revisit every few months or so to see if it's working. Any questions?
So do you have questions after?
Oh, right, of course. Questions after. See, I was designing this earlier and I wasn't listening to her instructions. So thank you. And
I will need a bit. Maybe
Okay.
Thank you very much. Just so you know, I know Jane, she's not the queen of lazy.
I am so cool.
And she's also smart. So thank you very much, Jane. Our next speaker is Douglas Bastien. He is the master of all things collaboration and social learning in the public sector. He wants to promote a community model where everyone is helping to work together and to help and to lead. He was a research analyst for Web 2.0 technologies in the federal government for 3 years.
I wanted to keep that a secret.
I found it online.
Oh, everything about it online.
If it's online, it's true.
Yeah.
He developed his community building and social learning experience in Hong Kong, where he worked in the private sector as an operations manager for a community-based publishing company. And he currently works to promote collaboration and capacity in Ontario's immigrant settlement sector as online capacity development facilitator at the Ontario Council for Agencies Serving Immigrants in Toronto. Douglas has a Master's of Public Administration where he looked at the use of Web 2.0 technologies to improve efficiency in the government. Maybe you could tell us about that.
There'll be questions at the end. Time for questions at the end. I haven't used this netbook for presentations, so I'm sure it's going to start burning in fire. That'll be very interesting at the end. All right, so yes, of course, my name is Douglas Bastien. Glad to see you all here. I didn't want to mention that my background's in government because the nonprofit sector has had some very interesting things happen lately, especially from this government. But I'm glad to be in the nonprofit sector. It's certainly something that I found very, very interesting here in Toronto. I've been here for about 4 months, and certainly been able to apply a lot of the lessons learned from my time in government. But certainly to mention, I am the online capacity development facilitator at the Ontario Council of Agencies Serving Immigrants. Essentially what that means is I'm trying to build our capacity online, so I guess develop our collaboration online with our 224 member agencies serving the 110,000 immigrants who arrive in Ontario yearly. Certainly a lot of work to be done and a lot of people to really to collaborate with in this sector. find it a long title, especially, so being from government, we really like acronyms. So fortunately, it does shorten out to being the OCD facilitator at OCASI, because I am really obsessive about collaboration. I think that's what the C stands for. So, and at OCASI, I mean, certainly every nonprofit is very different, and we also have our own set of challenges within the organization, with people, the people who are trying to collaborate with each other and also working outside as well. So I do want to talk about two things today. The development of a technology strategy for nonprofits. So I'm going to try to keep it general so that it is applicable to your nonprofits. I will be taking a step back, but certainly echoing a lot of the stuff that Jane mentioned in her presentation. And then I'll try to get into some examples from my organization that we've used, and hopefully you can apply for yourselves as well. Again, trying to be general as much as possible and open it up to questions that you might have. So it's going to be part theoretical, conceptual about the technology strategy, and then after that try to be as practical as possible with some of the examples that we use. So first I want to take a step back and start talking about the reasons to use technology. Of course, maybe you've actually heard them all. Probably heard of all of the reasons, actually certainly as well from, I'm glad that Jay mentioned them as well. You know, the many reasons for using technology, and I'm sure you come across it very often, but I want to instead talk a bit about the reasons not to use technology. Now, I wanted to find out if there are new ones, but I think some of the ones that I've been able to hear is, hey, I'm not running a technology company. You're not IBM, you're not Microsoft, probably not TechSoup. So why would you need to use technology? Why does your organization need to be based around technology? Why do you need to have to change the scope or strategy or really take in technology? How much technology is enough to bring into your organization? Why do you need to have to turn around and start adopting technology for the sake of adopting technology? You don't need to, right? You're not a technology company. Another reason. It takes time and money that I don't have. You're a nonprofit. You're facing limited resources. Well, you know, is technology really something that you can really take up? And in fact, technology, people might say it's really easy, it's really cheap. It isn't. It never really isn't. I can't say that it's the easiest thing to do, it's the cheapest thing to be able to take on. There's a lot of other things you need to do, especially with the mandates of your nonprofit, and a lot of different things that are happening all the time. So why would I adopt technology? It's expensive, it takes time. Another one, it's not part of my expertise. This isn't what I'm in for. I'm not developing a technology company. I got other things to do. There are many other things that keep my nonprofit alive, and technology isn't necessarily one of those. These are all points that I definitely want to cover, and are there other ones that I've totally missed? I definitely want to hear. Is there one? I don't know. Okay. So those are the reasons that I wanted to touch on for not using technology. Now I'm going to go back into reasons for using technology, and I actually don't have that many, despite my background in technology. I haven't been all that big on technology. I did not go into programming. I didn't go into engineering. I'm not big on just using technology for the sake of using technology. In fact, you know, I think laziness is the mother of invention. Wanting to find a way to be able to do things just easier. For the sake of just doing it at all, I'm not a hobbyist in that sense. I'm not. My focus is on looking at how organizations do things and being able to achieve the results that they need to do. So, if you look at that, I really want to balance technology and organization. Look at technology, not for the sake of technology, but how it can drive your organization to be able to do what an organization needs to do. Now, that's speaking very, very emphatically, right? What an organization needs to do. Well, I'm talking about how to fulfill your mandate using the best, most efficient and effective ways of applying your resources. Of course, I'm speaking very generally here. I'm speaking to different nonprofits, but really, not technology for the sake of using technology, but really how does it drive your organization? And I think there are various ways to be able to do that. But also, the technology isn't new. I'm not just talking about new technology. Technology, as Jane has mentioned, it's all around you. I mean, you're not going to really be able to avoid it. We're really talking about new technologies. When you're looking at new technologies, which ones are you going to use? Well, I want to bring the focus to how it enables your organization. I'll give some examples of not new technologies, but really the ones you already have around. Jane mentioned the website, having your website presence. Well, that's certainly a significant part of it. There's also the graphic design that you need to be able to do. I mean, there's some very advanced software that's out there, some that I don't understand about how to be able to develop images and logos, your brochure, your catalog. I wouldn't be able to understand those. Voicemail, yes, it is. It is technology. Dana also pointed out that phones also technology, so voicemail as well. There's even some systems in voicemail that you leave a message and you'll get it by email. I don't know. I haven't tried that out, but I guess I'm getting behind the time. I am. I totally am. Fax. I curse faxes. I actually asked my boss to remove the fax number from my card, from my business card, because if I get a fax, I wouldn't even know for a week. Email, of course. And Microsoft Word. I just want to put up Microsoft Word there. I know there are some other options that are available. Maybe Microsoft Word works better for you. Do you want to use OpenOffice? Do you want to use Corel WordPerfect? I don't know. But hey, it's technology. So these are examples that I'm sure exist already in your organization. So really, we're talking quite vaguely here. We're talking about actually the technology that you already have. We're talking about the new technology. Well, what kind of technology are we talking about? Well, let's not talk about technology for the sake of talking about technology. Let's talk about the results that the outcomes that they have for your organization. And the outcomes of these technologies, well, you're going to use technology because it helps you communicate with stakeholders better. Be able to make richer communication. Helps you disseminate information to the public or your fellow stakeholders, or be able to promote your nonprofit. Provide an analysis. You're able to dig data deeper and be able to really compare those numbers. Be able to receive authoritative information, whether it be from government, from trusted sources, from the people who email you and that you trust and you have that liaison with. Those are reasons for using technology. Those are reasons for expanding your use of technology. Not necessarily technology for the sake of technology, but if you map it to the needs of your organization and how technology can really drive your organization, I find those being very valuable uses of technology. So again, to step it back, this isn't the whole picture, right? I mean, there are other things that also drive your organization. So I want to look deeper as well. So if you develop technology, is it going to be the only thing that's going to be able to drive? Well, you could go and develop all the nice technologies that you think is really going to drive your organization. But I think there are two parts. There are two parts that are missing here. If we go further into the organization, let's look at people and process. These are what you're going to need in an organization. These are the people you're going to need to be able to engage people in an organization. Who's going to use the technology? Who are going to be the first people who are going to reject your technology if you don't engage them, or if they don't know how to use it, they don't want to use it, or if it's not tied into the processes involved in the organization? So these are another two parts that I really want to underline. Because if you're just going about it with technology for the sake of technology and you're not engaging the people who are in the organization, or if you're not changing some of the processes involved, technology is not going to work. You can use the best technology out there. You can use the same technology that other organizations are using really effectively, and they just fail because the people aren't adopting it, or because the processes haven't changed. Why have some people use email when somebody else is using fax? Or it could confuse your clients. You could have different modes of communication. People are using different things. People aren't really using the same calendar, for example. So you need to be also cognizant about people and processes. Now I wonder if some of you have noticed that there's something wrong with this diagram. What's that?
Those wheels. If you start moving one of them, the other one's going to go the other way and it's going to lock. Really?
Was there anything else? Well,
Organization is missing.
oh, okay. Or yeah, the organization is missing, right, isn't it? Okay. Well, I think that I think that's a pretty good point. I think that they would. I think you're absolutely right. The three don't work together. They don't. They're just gonna jam. Yeah, technology just alone and just kind of going against like the people in the process. Are things just going to figure themselves out? No. I think you need some kind of internal coordination, right? I think you're going to need to find some way for all those gears to work together. Something else is needed. You're right. Your organization. You're absolutely right. Okay, so how about this? Does this work? Yeah, you thought you had me. You totally did. At least half of you thought you had me. Absolutely, the organization. We need the organization in the middle. We need those gears kind of turning, and it's fine if one of them is smaller than the rest of them. Maybe if you're still developing a technology your capacity with the use of technology, or you really still need to work on getting the people on side, or you still need to make your processes a lot more coherent. But if they're turning, or if one isn't turning, it might slow it down, but it may not slow down the whole organization. But you do need all three gears, and that's really what I want to illustrate here. If you have all three gears kind of working, how strong is this little one, does this center one turn? The organization is enabled by these drivers, and that's really what I want to highlight here. These are drivers. These are drivers for the organization. Technology is one of them. And if you don't turn the technology gear, the organization is going to keep on turning. The people are still going to drive it. You're still going to have the processes change and turn the organization. The technology one isn't turning. Well, you could also slow it down, but you can also speed it up as well. So that's what I really want you to think about, balancing technology. It's not just technology. It's about how it drives the organization and how it can be supported by the people and the processes involved. So I want to talk a bit about the strategies involved in each of these three gears. And I do want to highlight those previous points that I mentioned about the reasons not to use technology. I think just generally, these aren't all of them, but I try to find three that I think that would apply well here. You do need to align technology. Don't use technology for the sake of just using technology, but see how does it align with your strategic aims. Maybe there are ways the ways you're already doing things. Maybe you can improve it, and perhaps technology. If you align technology to strategic aims, it will be a driver. Also, try stuff out. You're not going to know. You can't plan everything out with technology, but it is really important to just try stuff out. Technology isn't always, or the software, the tools aren't always going to work the same way for everybody. Every nonprofit is different. Every organization is different. The dynamics between the people and the processes are different. You have to try stuff out, reiterate, rinse, repeat, as Jay mentioned. And also, I think you're doing the right thing as well by being here and being involved with TechSoup. Really network with the tech people. You may not speak the same language, but tech people have things to learn, and I'm sure are curious as well. And so are you. So definitely network with them. You may not speak the same language, but there's some commonalities, and I think that's very, very important. Certainly don't write yourself off as not being tech. Doesn't mean you can't talk tech or talk about technology with people, and you're definitely showing that interest and that curiosity. So that's definitely a good step. Another part about the people. If you don't have the capacity for technology, fortunately you can develop that capacity through your hires. Now, I'm kind of on the fence regarding the hires about whether you just hire somebody who's specifically technological, very techy, and that's it, or you kind of include it in the rest of your hires. Maybe as an asset qualification, just somebody who's a bit technological. Don't need to go into too much detail, but at least highlight it perhaps in the job ad. Maybe just highlight it and ask them maybe to speak about it. And if you had 3 candidates who kind of all are just completely even, well, maybe the technology will kind of come up. So definitely you can raise your technology capacity through your hires. I mean, that's probably the easiest thing, I think. Consult and communicate broadly on tech projects across the organization. It doesn't need to be top down. It doesn't mean I have the only answer, the only solution, and here it is. It's just going to be placed on everybody in the organization. Consult broadly. You can get that engagement. You can also find out about those mistakes that could possibly happen through your technological project before they're rolled out. There's a big capacity there to really engage and get the buy-in from the whole organization. Share the tech responsibility with all staff. So that's what I mentioned about the raising technology capacity through hires. What if it was all staff's responsibility to kind of provide feedback on the technology you're using, or identifying the lack of technology, or where processes could be improved? So why not broaden that sharing? You wouldn't want people in your organization saying, well, it's not my department. Somebody else takes care of technology, so it's not me. That might create a gap. Whereas if it's a broad responsibility, you want to be able to identify the gaps as well as the solutions, but ideally identify the gaps. So have a broad responsibility for technology. And now on processes, support a culture of information sharing. Sometimes it goes without saying, but I do think it needs to be underlined. Information sharing technology works really well at sharing information, but sometimes we choose some software that erects walls between groups, between people, to be able to share that information. If we're all working in the same organization, there's a lot we can do to be able to help each other. So I would say a culture of information sharing, allow people to be able to share, make that the default. Share best practices on productivity. If you have a monthly or weekly meeting, maybe talk about where technology has been effective in the organization. And be patient with the expectation of results. So you rolled out the Drupal's content management system or the blog yesterday. You're not going to get those results right away. You don't need to cancel it right away. It does take some time, and it does take careful review. So again, that's balancing it all with the organization. So now I'm going to go into some examples. I do have internet on here, so I'm just going to be sharing, going over to another screen. And actually, because we have internet. So there are two kinds of technologies that that I can share about our use over at OCASI. The use of our technology internal to the organization and the use of technology outside. I don't know how relevant our external use of technology is for the various nonprofits, mainly because we have various tools that we use for very specific projects. But what I do want to outline and what I really do want to highlight, I guess, well, first I'll go over our external uses of technology. I'll show you two websites that we have running WordPress. And mainly to highlight, this is Settlement Workers Against Violence Everywhere. So not so much the content, but this was developed really easily. We had a group, a project group in our organization who developed the content, general ideas about the look, and this was all developed for free on a server that you could rent for about $5. This was using a generic template, so you could get started right away. This could be developed if you have the content already. You can develop this within a day and at very, very low cost. It's using a system called WordPress. Do you know about WordPress? So it's a very popular platform for blogs, but not just blogs. It's so easy to be able to develop some other stuff and some other websites if you want to have a website up and ready. And there's also blog extensions. There's also open source, and so it's developed and supported by a community of developers. A big reason for using WordPress is because it's continually updated by a community of developers, and it's free. It does take some technological know-how to be able to have that, to be able to get that server. But there is a free version, and I'll show you the link to that. I'll show you a link to this is our other one. Now, here we actually host it on WordPress.com. If you look at the address bar. So this one is then actually hosted by us. It's hosted by WordPress, and we use a template, and we filled it up, and we developed the logos. I believe we did use a graphic designer to develop the kind of the look, but again, it's using free software and it's hosted online. So this is for one of our projects, one of our one-offs projects. Now, although we have the technology capacity inside our organization, as well as the people to be able to develop the websites, we didn't quite. The processes are always changing. So this site, the previous site here, Settlement Workers Against Violence Everywhere, we're not keeping it continually updated, and we don't have a project lead on that. So we should look at our processes involved with projects after they've run throughout their whole time span, their whole lifespan, and see, well, what do we do to archive it and put it aside, or should we update it after it's run its course? So I just want to highlight that all those things in balance is very important. So these are both run on WordPress. I'll open up that window afterwards if you wanted to see what the website looks like to download it. Another system very similar is Drupal or Drupal. It's a content management system. It's a very, very strong content management system. Not the easiest thing to use, but it is very advanced. But I've seen some people take it up really, really easily. So I know technology isn't always I can't say it's the easiest thing, and I can't say it's the cheapest thing, but it's definitely getting a lot easier and cheaper A system like this, or I've seen websites on a Drupal site, would have cost using a separate system, costing much more. So, I guess certainly balancing it, using a Drupal system, you can get started right away and be able to develop some of the websites. And I've seen some very fast sites, very well developed. I think Washington Post is one of them, theonion.com, and some City Hall websites. So this is one of them. Yeah, this is our latest Drupal install. And something else that we're developing, and quite recent, is a wiki. We're using Mediawiki. This is actually, I'm adapting this from another site. Some of the other sites that I'm not really outlining are custom systems. Mainly we use so that we can have full control and see what it looks like. This is the original site, and we have about 650 articles there. And again, using open source software, we put it all into this wiki. I have here a tag cloud here. This has only come up about a couple of weeks ago. We started sharing it out there. So we have 650 articles, and they've been organized in this tag cloud. So we're using the same software that runs Wikipedia. So, and again, because it's open source and you can download it for free and really implement it and install it on your server. You can get started right away. But after you install it, that's not it. You got to fill it up with content, and that's really the power of these various systems. Yes.
Would you like to just describe what the wiki is doing for its users?
Yes. Well, we had this site, and you go and visit the site. You can sign up to a newsletter. This is a site for settlement workers across Ontario. And so you go to the site, and then you can go and see the articles, but then that's it. It's really static. At least with the wiki, if you find something that you could update, you go into an article and you want to update it. I'll go to the article. Let's see, article, academic reports. If you go to an article and you find there's a mistake or there's something else that could be updated on it, you just go ahead and change it. You can go and click on edit after you have an account. You can go ahead and click on edit and start updating it or add another resource to it. So that was the main use of using the wiki, but not because it's a wiki, but because it fulfilled what we wanted to do with the site to make it a lot more collaborative, a lot more engaging. And the wiki was the right solution for that. So that's another example. I really want to highlight the use of some of the tools that are out there that are available for free. You can download and install it. It's not the easiest thing. It's not the cheapest way, but definitely there might be some other skills that might be necessary. But there's a lot of tools that are available if you're ready and you have the people and processes in the organization ready to support that. So those are some of our external sites. How many on time?
Just a couple more minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Something that really helps us in the organization, and don't read this too much because this is my email. This is what we use. We're using Google Apps, and we found that to be really easy for us to. Well, actually, we haven't paid a cent for Google Apps, and it's just been amazing just how much it's been able to support us with those productivity tools that we needed. Not only do we get the spam filter that Gmail is known for, because we've rolled it out across the organization. Every new hire has an account on ocasi.org for the email. Wait a minute. Everybody's part of this ecosystem. Everybody has access to this ecosystem. So I can tell right away. Jay's online right now, so we have the chat there on the side. Got the email. I can go through some more here. I have calendar, and I'm able to see various calendars of my coworkers and see who's busy and who isn't. We also have a document management system of documents people wanted to share. I can do search across the organization. Something else that's really neat is Google Sites. So we've been able to also publish information for each other as well as to the public and have a fast turnaround on that. So this is one site that I actually just created for one of the groups I'm in. And it was really just for us to be able to share information all together. So information about our projects, people, resources, meetings. Now, I did this without asking my manager. I just went ahead and just did it. My manager, I think some of the lessons that we can learn from, at least that I could apply from Ocasi, is that the managers really just let everybody just try stuff out. What's really going to happen. They're familiar with the risks, but they provided us with the tools and the means to be able to do that. And we keep them updated. There's that communication. So really, just try stuff out. So I created this. I wouldn't have been able to pitch this, and I wouldn't have. But I needed it. I needed it in my organization. I needed it in my group. So I just went ahead and just developed this and put all the information together and engaged some others. And it's probably better if my manager wasn't involved in this. Yes, in the back.
Well, I was just going to say we use the Google Mail as well. What I don't like about it is that the foldering system is really funky because they do it like the labels. So if you're used to your Outlook or Mac Mail, it's not like that at all. So it's not synchronized with our Mac Mail or Outlook. So essentially just because really the folder system.
Yes, we have there are some employees in the organization who still use Outlook, and actually we've had that integration with Outlook. So they're able to download Outlook and also use their own calendar. We don't see them on chat, so we kind of miss them. But apart from that, we've been able to really integrate them, and I think that's. But I'm not about selling Google Apps, but certainly it's something that's free and it's really easy to implement, and especially since. Well, we found it really effective, and I think that just internally, because internally you don't want to spend too much time trying to support the technology that's in use for your organization instead of actually doing the work of the organization. So we continually just get surprised by just how much more we can do with this, and just also how much power it kind of gives to the employees, but how they can go and create and share information easily without us really having to manage it too much. So yeah, those are some of the examples, and I'll open it up to questions.